Steep Hill Labs is a cannabis testing facility that's sampling legal weed for contamination before it enters the market. They've been involved in the pesticide issue since 2011 and have published studies showing that more than 80% of cannabis samples contain pesticide residues.
They're afraid for me to be in the lab, so they will sometimes hide my lab coat so I can't find it.
Right, sure. They try to keep you away from there.
Reggie Godino is Steep Hill's chief science officer.
So this is the kind of stuff that you're finding in weed?
Yes, so this is stuff that came to us from a dispensary.
When recreational weed was legalized in California, the state announced strict testing standards designed to make weed safer for consumers and the environment. Each batch of legal weed will have to test clean for traces of over 60 pesticides.
Are the pesticides that are being used on cannabis, are they actually dangerous for humans? Do we even know that?
So we have very little data. What we have studied inadvertently was Eagle 20, which, is when it's heated becomes cyanide gas.
Consumers in Canada filed a class action lawsuit against a medical marijuana producer when they experienced headaches, nausea, and vomiting after smoking weed treated with Eagle 20.
So Eagle 20 is a pesticide that is used
predominantly on grapes because it cures powdery mildew. People in the cannabis industry just grabbed Eagle 20 and started spraying all the cannabis with Eagle 20. So we are in a real dark area, right? We don't know how much pesticide is too much, how much is enough, right? We don't know which pesticides might turn into something harmful, right? So there's a lot of unknown territory that needs to be investigated.
The US EPA is responsible for investigating pesticide safety. But weed is illegal federally, so the EPA has never studied or approved pesticides for cannabis. For California's regulators, that's a catch-22. They can't allow farmers to use pesticides the EPA hasn't approved for the crop.
So these new regulations, do you think that they're going to substantially affect growers and their use of pesticides?
That's a dangerous question for me to answer. So you give people a list and say you can't use these. What are they going to do? They're going to look for things outside that list that you may not be testing for, right? So do I think that it has the potential to create a situation where people are trying to game the system? Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if it's as much as 25 to 50% of the people fail.
Sean Weber is a cannabis grower in Northern California who's been making big changes to his business to guarantee he doesn't fail the new tests. What kind of regulations were imposed on your business before in terms of pesticides and in terms of making sure that the weed was, not very risky?
There were no regulations.
None whatsoever?
We knew this was coming, so we had to get ahead of the game. In order to get ahead of the game, you have to play with all these organic pesticides that you don't know what works. It's taken a long time to actually get to the point where we know this and this and this in combination will take care of this problem. And there's been failures. There's been crops that we've actually destroyed by using a product that we hadn't tested before. And it's part of the learning process.
Okay, but is your weed testing clean now?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're ready.
We are ready.
Sean's been working on marketing to appeal to weed connoisseurs on the legal market. But he says overnight regulation has brought an avalanche of other rules that are pushing small farms out of the industry or onto the black market. Those growers didn't support legalization.
I believe most of Humboldt County voted against it.
And is it just not wanting to deal with the bureaucracy and the new regulations?
I think some of it is the culture. There's definitely an outlaw culture. I think a lot of it is that it wasn't that well thought through.
So you think a lot of people are going to be put out of business because of these new regulations?
Absolutely. Anything large scale is either going to get well funded and survive or go black market, I think. It's mostly your mom and pops.
When Sean says mom and pops, he's talking about his actual mom. She's been raising organic 12-foot weed plants on a mountainside for years. But now she's going out of business.
So this is your mother's farm?
Yes, this is her farm. This is her way of doing things. This is her organics. I stay out of the way.
And what I do every day is juice the leaves.
Really?
Yeah.
So what does that mean exactly? What does that entail?
She picks them, puts them in a juicer, juices them, and drinks it.
Wow.
And it is so potent.
And you do that every day?
Yeah.
Man, that must be why you're so healthy. Why are you shutting down your operation? I'm going to wait for the helicopter.
That used to be the enemy.
Right.
Well, basically for financial reasons. You
Okay.
know, the laws have made it so that in order to continue, it's just out of bounds.
It takes a much larger operation to do it. And I believe that we will end up selling it to somebody that's going to come in here with the means to probably grade a huge portion of this and put in a giant farm.
There's a lot of things that you would be doing ordinarily at this moment that you're just not doing.
I would have a lot of winter vegetables here. I would have all this, you know, like I said, with green manure on it. I'm just kind of in shock, actually.
Because it kind of sounds like the whole idea is to try and make sure that people can enjoy cannabis without having to worry about all the risks that comes with harmful pesticides. Do you agree with that?
Well, sure. I mean, you know, for people like me, I call it organic, and it is organic.
Viv won't be participating in California's new legal market, but she certainly isn't giving up weed altogether.
It's not over because we can still grow 6 plants per property.
Right.
So
There's still, you can still for your own purposes,
so
right?
she'll have 6 plants at my house and they'll be 25 feet tall if I know her.